Good evening to some, good afternoon to others, and good morning to the remainder of the YouTube world. You are now receiving an emergency broadcast of the Crimson Pill radio program. I am your host, Antonin Fiore, and folks of YouTube Nation, we find ourselves in very strange times indeed, do we not? This broadcast is a bit of a blast from the past for your humble host, as I have not conducted a broadcast in over 5 years, in fact, close to 6 years. Many of you continue to send emails or to make comments on my YouTube channel, Crimson Pill TV, reflecting back to the era when I broadcast regularly on the Republic Broadcasting Network, both by terrestrial AM radio as well as over the internet globally. And I have very much appreciated many of the kind comments, kind regards, and your continued requests for me to renew or revive the radio program, which until this very moment I had declined to do. What brings me here today? Why this quote-unquote emergency broadcast? Well, it's a web of intrigue, is it not? A W-E-B-B, web of intrigue. I know that many of you may be just like me, via one route, one point of entry or another. We've become intrigued by the regularly churning events of the George Webb story. And as I say the George Webb story, I of course mean also the Crowdsource the Truth, Jason Goodman story, which happens to have involved some peripheral players as well, not the least of which is, of course, George Webb's brother, Dave, or Dave Acton, also including the delightful character known as Defango, also including other peripheral characters that we may or may not address in this particular broadcast, but invariably we will over time. Let me begin by just sharing the quick backstory of how I arrived in the mix. Some weeks back, I was intrigued by the storylines, the narrative involving Tengri and Cicada, kind of followed with mild interest that turned into growing interest about what may or may not be afoot with that storyline. And at the same time as well, just like many of the fellow pursuers of the truth and justice, not just in our country but around the world, have followed with great interest and great concern, quite frankly, the political turnings of events that date back not just to last year but the year before, involving obviously the presidential campaign, the election process, obviously involving the DNC and the strange and nefarious undertakings by the DNC, by members of its quote-unquote leadership, complaining about an election process that had supposedly been influenced by a foreign state, when how can you ignore the influence that had been orchestrated within the DNC itself against one of the candidates that was participating in that electoral process. But let's save that thought for another broadcast, or at least another time. Back to this storyline, George Webb and his YouTube channel and his reporting on the Awan brothers, on the Seth Rich murder mystery, and other threads of investigation or informational pursuit as well. But just in this last calendar week to 10 days, things have become extremely interesting, have they not? We have near outright and open hostilities happening between a number of these personalities and YouTube broadcasters. H.A. Goodman, Defango, from Lift the Veil, Nathan Stoltman, George Webb, Jason Goodman, Trish, and then, of course, George's brother, Dave Acton. You know, I see the comments under the videos or in the live broadcasts that many of us are experiencing pure, true cognitive dissonance on a level that many of us have never experienced in our lifetimes. It's quite a story that just when you thought it was not just unparalleled, but also difficult to process. Then, of course, we had the events of the other evening with the Coast Guard involved, and holy cow, wow. The purpose for this broadcast tonight is to offer this. Folks, we live in a strange and complicated world. Each of us knows within our own individual personal lives how strange, how complicated, how unfortunate, how tragic various experiences can be, whether it's with our family members, whether it's with our friends, whether it's with events that might surround our careers or our communities. We know that unexpected things can happen. We know that one unexpected twist can turn into a tragic or outright inexplicable outcome. What concerns me at this time, seeing the commentary, the narratives being exchanged, being traded between many of these personalities on their channels, on their videos, in their broadcasts, the live streams. What concerns me the most is to see the tribalism that is evolving, to see folks that are choosing sides, pairing up, they're flying a flag of this one personality or the next. And what I would propose to you, ladies and gentlemen, is that each of these different individuals, not only do they possess unique skill sets, unique life experiences, or in the words of Robert Anton Wilson, unique reality tunnels that have brought them from their youth to this point today. They bring unique perspectives. They offer unique insights. They bring unique information. And as with any walk of life, any avenue of our existence in this world, some of that information is accurate. Some of that information is inaccurate. Some of it is, some of it is inaccurate by design, perhaps. And in fact, we know some of it is intentional misinformation or disinformation. And what I would offer folks is that in this crazy, unparalleled scenario that has manifested itself in this, let's call it a circle, right, of interest or of intellectual pursuit in and around these real life matters, these issues, the DNC, Seth Rich, the Awan brothers, criminal behavior orchestrated in a manifest way by our intelligence apparatus, different individuals and agencies and or entities within our government. These things are very real to all of us. And for many of us, truth, justice, the preservation of our civil rights, at least as they exist in a conceptual way, no matter how they may have been eroded over time, these are the things that matter the most. And the different individuals that are broadcasting on YouTube are each and of themselves just one wave of frequency within a spectrum of frequencies. Each brings a set of experiences or talents or perspectives that are unique in their own rights. Each of them is bringing information to the table. And again, as with any walk of life, some of that information is accurate, some of it is not. It is for each of us to hold our own standards of discernment to a high level. And I think it is very well demonstrated through the course of human history that when people begin to engage in this process of, and it's a human nature, it's a natural human reaction to engage in the tribalism, I'll call it, flying the flag, choosing a side. And it is, I think, fairly well demonstrated that in human history, when one has made that decision, when you've flipped a switch in one department and maybe flipped a switch off in another, we begin to self-filter and we evolve paradigms which then prevent us from seeing more of the full truth. Folks, these different underpinnings are going to play out over the next days, weeks, maybe months. Who knows? It certainly seems a fevered pitch of high drama at the moment, does it not? I've watched a number of George Webb's postings from today alone, little snippets. He certainly seems to be, shall we say, unaffected by the multiple postings that his brother Dave has made through the course of this day. And on that note, I would like to pause and bring attention to or make mention of one of Dave's postings today. And he has been posting from a channel entitled, or a channel named EMT Basic today. The title of the posting is Dave Acton is CIA, George Webb is Mossad. In this posting, Dave Acton shares, I think, very sincerely and very vulnerably information about his childhood, his upbringing, his family, his father. And folks, I ask you, I implore you to give that a listen. Give that an audience. Let your heart process what you hear and how you hear it. Tone of voice as well as the words themselves, the content. And if you're not affected by that, I'm not sure what types of things do, in fact, affect you in life. Dave Acton, I'm learning more about you with each posting that you've made, especially today, quite a great deal about your background. And at this point in time, I as I do with any personality or any source, I take them at face value until I have some really compelling reason not to do so. And in this unfolding, very mysterious, swirling mystery around these personalities, and then what has once again become open conflict between several of them, Dave, I want you to know that there are those of us who empathize with the things that you've shared about your upbringing, and that we're sending you energy, we're sending you positive mind bullets, because this world can be very cruel, and many of us have firsthand experiences, whether it's from our childhood or from our adult life, of just how cruel and unfortunate and tragic the things that humans are able and capable of doing to other humans, whether they're perfect strangers or whether they're nuclear family members. Dave, empathy, energy, positive mind bullets to you, sir. And I will continue to tune in and listen with interest. Whether you're sharing more backstory or if you're kind of returning to some of the broadcasts and videos that you had made in the past, looking at some of these aspects of life and some of these questions that many folks in YouTube are pursuing. So, ladies and gentlemen, as I make these comments, I'm making comments at a personal and human level. I'm not flying a flag. I don't have a Dave Acton flag flying right now, just as I don't have a George Webb flag, a Jason Goodman flag, a Defango flag, an H.A. Goodman flag. I find good in every one of those individuals, and I know that not every shred of information that we're hearing is accurate. I know that a good chunk of it is inaccurate. I know that some of it is intentionally misleading, but I'm using my discernment, and I'm not choosing sides. I'm holding through this process of trying to sift through raw data that is often and frequently very highly charged. And I'm hoping that we can find a way as a community to listen to one another, to compare notes, to try to keep pursuing the threads that can lead us towards something that is not just a point of consensus truth, but hopefully verifiably proven fact and truth. And that we can get back to the business of holding accountable members of the government, people who call themselves members of leadership in this nation. And yet, if you'll refer to many of my postings from past radio broadcasts on my channel, Crimson Pill TV, there's a lot of research that many folks have done. At this point, I'm going to bring this broadcast to a conclusion, hopefully quite shortly. I guess I'm putting a toe back in the water at this point. Not sure exactly how this will play out in terms of upcoming broadcasts, if I'll return to a format that was much like the Crimson Pill radio program, or if it will be intermittent. All I know is that I'm sensing a lot of people that have been following these different channels and broadcasters. I'm sensing a lot of people are not just in cognitive dissonance and disarray, cognitive disarray at this time. I'm also sensing a lot of people are flat hurting. And they're hurting because they feel like they're being betrayed by someone that they've placed trust in, etc. And again, I think what I'm asking for, the call to action for this broadcast today, remember to hold your own personal discernment first and foremost as we're listening to each of these individuals in their broadcasts. Don't fly a flag. Don't choose a side. It's not necessary to do so anyway. As soon as we begin to choose sides, we begin to imprison ourselves in our own paradigm of belief, and we become tied to that process of trying to prove a fact or a belief to be true, and we lose our ability to see objectively what the facts may themselves point us toward. So, ladies and gentlemen of the YouTube audience, this broadcast certainly has not been as polished or as finely tuned, certainly not as documented or researched as I have tried to make all of my broadcasts on the radio programs in the past. But my heart is going out to a number of individuals whose lives seem to be in disarray right now at a time when we need to be arrayed together as we're pursuing this process of holding light to subjects and to individuals who for far too long have been hiding under the rocks. They've been operating and conducting their nefarious, their hideous, their vile, their disgusting practices in the dark. We need to turn the light of day to those individuals and to those endeavors in any way that we are able to do so as a community and together. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your host, Antonin Fiore, signing off. Wishing you well, have colorful dreams, experience energy in your day, and let's keep striving to uncover the truth.